when you're trying to pinpoint harmonics,
Hmm.
you know how like we're normally using fib retracement, you can choose just any swing low or high if it's on
Yeah,
a macro scale for the most part.
yeah.
Would that is that same logic for fibs for harmonics as well? Or do you just go off of like local lows and highs for that, even if it's on a higher time frame? Does that make sense?
So do you mean like do you go for the extremes or something inside?
Uh, oh yeah, okay. Like, let me give you like an example then.
Uh-huh.
Like you know how normally, okay, like for example, you know how normally, if you was to pull like the macro fib, like the all-time low to the all-time high,
Yeah,
there'll be
yeah.
other highs and lows within that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
that the same thing? Can you do the same thing with harmonics, or do you normally stick to like local lows and
Yeah,
highs, even if it's on a high time frame?
you can do that with harmonics as well. As long as you're using impulse lows and impulse highs, that's the important thing. Which is why
Okay,
sometimes on my
okay,
screen you'll see me mark it down as, like internal harmonic, external harmonic. I'm just trying to pinpoint between, okay, this one isn't the outermost impulse, but it is still a swing low I'm taking it from, so on and so forth.
okay, okay. So the same thing applies to harmonics as well. Then everything you're
Yeah.
doing with fib, you can also do with that.
So
All
if,
right.
if I go on Bitcoin here, for example, and we take a look, right? All these bearish harmonics that I'd given over here, one sec. So all of these, before it gets confusing, let me turn those off for now. So those are your buy seller zones. So for example, all of these harmonics we've been looking at as the quote unquote bearish ones, right? We know that they're all coming off different points. So for example, this crab is coming off that X point there, right? This shark is
Mm-hmm.
coming off this X point here. It's still an impulse high. This is still an impulse high.
Mm-hmm.
That's still an impulse high. As long as you're taking it, most people absolutely get fibs wrong, right? Don't get me started on how many people get fibs wrong. They don't know how to use
Yeah.
Tron base fib extensions, normal fib retracements, diagonal fibs. They don't know how to use it. It gives fibs a bad name, which is why you get people saying fibs don't work when they're looking at it logically, and you see people like not even anchoring to anything valid, right? They're just trying to line the levels up. Obviously, that's not valid whatsoever. But in terms of actual measured moves, that's what we're doing when we're doing it anchored impulse lows to highs and vice versa. You can do it with fibs, and as an extension, therefore, you can do it with harmonics as well. Yeah, so all of these are from different anchor points, right? From the most extreme, like you've got a bullish crab here, for example, from that X there, right? We know that's not the low. You could go from this point here, for example, right? Um, we've got this, which isn't the macro high, but it's still an impulse high, right? This was still a lower high before we led to the next lower low, so on and so forth. So we say we can take fibs and therefore harmonics from those areas. Yeah,
All right, got it. Makes sense. Thank you.
no problem at all, bro. So let's take a look. We've been having chop, but what we cannot do again is seem to get above one, right? This first PRZ, and again, this is the reason.
By the way, you're recording this. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, I am. I am recording it. Yeah, I'll put it up on YouTube. And then I'll put the link into. I'm not going to keep this long though, so I'll keep this a maximum like an hour. I won't keep it long. Short and sweet, get to the point. And I will start doing more streams again because I think the market volatility is going to pick back up now. So we've had the first move up, right? Nothing's really been happening. We've just been doing this. But if we do get that flush down, I think we get some really nice bids. Start doing more streams again. I think now's the time. If I'm going to be active, I'd rather do it now than later. Hang on, I think some more people have been joining. Let's take a look. Alright, nice. Madvid, welcome, bro. First time in the stream. Glad to have you here with us, brother. Duke, come in, brother. Yeah,
How's it going, bro?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm on 2 week vacation.
Yeah,
Just
glad
feeling
to
a little
hear.
jet lag, but
Yeah,
yeah,
nice, brother. We'll catch up more when we get to our next session, bro.
yeah, for sure.
Uh,
For sure, bro.
all right, let's take a look. Okay, so first of all, since I'm on Bitcoin, might as well take a look at this first. The area that we are at, I'm still short, right? I've not been, my thesis for the short hasn't been invalidated yet. We are still seeing weakness at the PRZ, right? Again, remember, number one, significant levels. Number two, price action analysis, right? Price action here has not been telling you that buyers are in control. Not yet. When we start seeing this and you start seeing attempts from sellers to take control, but buyers overwhelming them, then we can start to say, yeah, buyers are clearly in control, right? But if we were to take a look at this, even I'm not pulling up any, fancy indicators. I'm not pulling up any order flow. I'm not pulling up any footprint charts, any TPOs, right? No market profiles. Simply just candlestick analysis will very easily tell you buyers have not been able to get any sustained closes above our top PRZ, 1.618 at the crab, 1.13 at the shark. right? You can see that. Again, very much distributive, locally speaking. Now, does this guarantee you a dump? No, but again, what I always tell you guys, number 3 is what? A risk managed entry. That's what we've had every single time we get this price action analysis here. You've had opportunities to take that risk managed short to the downside, right? So we're getting that rejection again because we couldn't sustain closes above this area, right? This is a PRZ as a whole. You kept getting to the highs, sellers kept taking control, you couldn't get above, and we're getting that flush, right? So I'm still in my short. How am I going to get out of that short, right? This. If I see that flip of this into support, I'm out of that short, right? That's it. But until we flip this into support, this hedge stays open, right? I'm not going to start hedging randomly down over here, right? My initial entry anyway is not going to be down over here or anything like this. My initial entries, again, based on my system, is going to be at my significant area first and foremost. That's right here. And price action has told me and shown me we're seeing weakness, right? These two we updated in the actual channel itself, right? And this one's happening more locally. I couldn't update this one. Like I said, I've been away for the last few days. But same area, right? Nothing's happened. It's not like a new area, no new significant levels or anything like this. Same area. So until we can get above this, right, we're going to keep chopping around. Again, this is a lower time frame thesis. By no means am I like a macro bear or anything like this, right, guys? No, I don't trade that way. But once we get above this, again, I'm not going to be looking for shorts. If we can flip this support, my bias will be long towards 102, 104, 105, so on and so forth, right? But that's only once buyers show their willingness to step into here to take that supply off the market. Supply is still overwhelming the buyers right now, right? We can aid this by looking now at actual footprint charts, right? If we take a look at the footprint chart, this pre-FOMC candle was very, very good, right? In the sense that if you take a look at how much total volume was transacted in this candle, 82.87k, right? That's over the course of the last day. And yet, look how the candle closed, right? And I'm saying this now with footprint charts, right? It becomes very easy to read price action. What you're trying to do with yourself rather, is remember, you're trying to tell a story, right? What is the overall delta? It's 1.87k. Basically, this is the number, right? This is the number with which the buyers won out over the sellers in this case, right? You had 1.87k volume. That was more on the ask side, right? The buyer side, than it was on the bid side, on the seller side. For saying you had this much volume, 82.87k, it's like, you know, the buyers hardly won by anything, right? They literally like, you know, it's like, you know, it's like you're having a drag race and one car is won by like inches, mere inches. That's what this is like. But does the candle replicate that? You'd be expecting a Darth Maul type of candle, something that shows indecisiveness, right? If you see buyers hardly won over anything. So again, what is that telling us? That is telling us that yes, aggressive buyers won out, great, but furthermore, there must be passive buying going on as well, right? So we had passive buying going on top of the aggressive buying to get a candle of this magnitude. It's telling you we opened, we got that dump, buyers stepped in, and then we shot all the way up. This is a combination of both passive buyers and aggressive buyers, right? Again, that is a bullish candle, but now this is why we look at the overall picture. What did we pump into? Again, we know we pumped into, right? We pumped into straight into our key level again, right? Again, if we go look at the daily, we pumped straight into our key level. And then what we did today, again, just before FOMC, you see buying pressure coming in, right? You see huge buying pressure coming in, which is why for now we're still on the green, right? But the buying pressure has not been able to overcome the supply wall in this case here right now. Right? This is again local. Look, I'm trying to analyze this on the daily as it's happening. The daily hasn't even closed yet. You know, we can take a look at the hourly, so on and so forth, to get more data. So we see that pump up, right? And then what we see is, let's take a look. Huge absorption candles, right? Massive absorption candles. You see that buyers are stepping in, sure, but they're not able to go. They're not able to go and overcome our actual key areas that we've got drawn down in terms of the harmonics, right? It's just not happening. So based off that, of course, we're getting this move down, right? Again, what do you see here? Positive delta 906, right? But huge red candle. This is premium absorption, and this is buyer absorption that has taken place on the 7th of May at midnight, right? So we had buyer absorption take place. You could not get above. Look, you rejected literally off the point of control of where the buyer absorption happened, right? Remember, this is where the most volume was transacted for this candle. You went there, treated the point of control as resistance, right? And then again, huge S&P to the downside again, and that is what's given us this move down. Right? Does this mean we're gonna break down? Lord knows. This by the time, like, by the time tonight closes, this might all get absorbed, right? But being able to read this, being able to see that there was absorption there, at least gave you a heads up that, okay, until you can go and especially get above that point of control now, you're not likely to go higher, right? And that would have given you, even as a scalp, this short here, right? Which is why I emphasize, you know, in advance, which is why I emphasize order flow so much, right? You don't get information like that just off your traditional candlestick charts, right? So we're all going to be going, each and every one of you will be going over this at one point or another, right? When we move on to advanced, some people are already there, some people have already finished it, some people are on it, and some people haven't even finished core yet. Everyone's at different stages, but you all will eventually be getting to this, right? So if this is a bit confusing, don't worry about it for now. So we're seeing, for now, let's take a look, right? Let's just quickly analyze slightly lower. There's no point analyzing this here, by the way, right? Because again, we know we're not at a significant area. If we're speaking down here, this is FOMC volatility, so there's no point analyzing it. I'm just trying to see anything interesting going on or not, right? Not really. Okay, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into other projects, right? So for BTC, you guys know my thoughts. Just in case I wasn't clear enough, until we do this, I'm not going to be looking for any longs, okay? But should we do this on BTC, that's going to be my next scalp trigger to long 102k now. Okay, we're gonna look for longs aiming towards 102,484 ultimately. Right, we do have another yearly buy seller zone level at around 100k. Don't forget. Okay, but if we get above that, I think we do get to this target next. Right, just because wave structures with us, you rate the mid, hit to this, so hit somewhere here, and then look for distribution here. If you do this, I think something like this, like a bigger drop down perhaps, right, and then higher. Otherwise, maybe even something just like this before we get a blow off top, right? But yeah, that's Bitcoin. So that's that. Let's take a look at, I want to go over some macros real quick. SWI, absolutely beautiful. Like if you guys want to scalp, just get your key levels down on SWI and just scalp this. One of the coins I would actually recommend that's not Bitcoin scalping would be SWI. Right, I think SWI is going to get a shit ton of volatility incoming. Don't hold me into that, right? But I think it's going to happen. All I need to know is these three candles here, right? Especially these four. Again, this is one of our top 10 coins, right? We were looking at this as the smiley face was occurring because we had a lot of confluence on this one, okay? Don't forget, we had a lot of confluence. The key level I gave you guys was, you had an ABCD down over there, right? We didn't quite hit that, but we had the fact that if I turn these off once, right? Let's turn these off. These are the thing we were looking at, right? We had the original range standard deviation 2 value area high. We had the original range standard deviation 3 value area high. The range extreme, all of those. Your accumulative structure was coming in at the original range standard deviation 2 value area high. As long as it's holding, we don't worry about value area 1. We don't worry about it, right? We accumulated around there. That is what gave us this move up. And now we're holding your low to high, right? Standard deviation 1 value area high. Low to high. What do I mean by that? If I click on it, I simply mean the impulse, the low impulse that took us to this high. So if you take the volume data for this low to this high, right, then that is the value area high you're going to get for standard deviation 1. You're flipping that into support, looking for that reclaim, right? With this view, if this holds, we cannot be surprised if we get an expeditious move towards 459 at some point, right? We cannot be surprised. Again, I'm not putting any other form of confluence on. We're looking at this strictly in terms of volume, right? What I've been showing you guys for all this time, right? Which is why we were talking about the SWI long down over here. In fact, if you guys remember, do I still have it? This is the long I gave. Not this was the original. We gave another one down over here, right? Where's it gone? Because that was the first attempt. We took profits. We got stopped out. The breakout must be in a group somewhere. Where is it gone? Not that one. Hang on. Right, where's all of it gone? 1 second, let me find it. If it's not here, it should be in here. Right, if it's not there, it should be in here, perhaps. Yeah. Hang on. Where's it gone? I really need to get better at managing my everything so jumbled up, right? So that was the original long we took, and then where's it gone? The P&L card it's disappeared. But you'll be on one of the recordings, right? I can't find it here, but it'll be one of the recordings. We talked about it as this, right? We talked about, okay, we've got the breakout, we've got the radon liquidity, right? We've hit the 886 of the shark. We're waiting for that reclaim is what we were talking about, right? That reclaim came, and then that gave us that move up. It's gonna be one of the previous videos. I can't seem to find it to save my life. I'm not trying to go through all of that and waste your time on stream either. So you know, if you want to see which one I'm talking about, just look at previous videos. But it was there. Right, we looked at the Sui long, we looked at it over here, and then we said, okay, as long as this holds now, we're not worried about getting back lower, right? It's only if we start closing candles below your 2023 12-month seller zone high and your original range standard deviation 2 value area high that we worry about lower prices. Because again, we'd broken out, this was the retest, right? You pop back up, and that gave us some move up, right? So for Sui, in terms of volume levels, right, in terms of old levels you guys are familiar with, if you hold these lows, I think we carry on going higher. There's no other way about it, right? I think we carry on going higher. If you lose this, then maybe we go and fill something like 279, right? Get that retest, something like this, and then I'll be looking for longs over there, right? But as long as this is held, I think we just go higher. In all honesty, I think we go higher. That's it. The amount of volume that came in is just so huge, right? We had a huge amount of volume coming into Sui. No other. Show me another altcoin that did this. There were hardly any. Right, they gave you like a 2x in like a few days, simply because we got to move up again on Bitcoin from the lows. Right, hardly any alts did this. It was Sui. We got Cetus because it was a Sui low. We had Deep. Right, Deep did something similar. So if I was to now go to Focus V2, right, Deep is another one. This one I wasn't even like aware existed, and one of you guys brought this to my attention. Right, this one would have been a beautiful play. Like if I'd seen this, I would have told you guys to long, right? Because the reason I told you guys to long Cetus and Sui was obviously because it looked good. I didn't know Deep was a thing. I didn't know Wall was a thing, right? But if you take a look at Deep, for example, if you go on Deep, it was beautiful. Look, 886 basically, right? X, A, B. There's your 611, basically a 618, right? Up to C for a 564, down to D for 886. That is what we call a deep Gartley, right? You got your deep Gartley, you got accumulation around that area, you got the smiley face, and that smiley face is what took you out, right? The smiley face is slightly here, right? You didn't get deep enough. So, but the main thing here is you would have hit an 886 retracement on the macro. You've got a wave structure complementing you, right? And that would have been a very, very beautiful bit. Risk management is super, super clear here, right? So now what I'm waiting for is obviously, you know, by the time I looked at this has already moved up to T2 618. So now the only way for me to really enter this in a way I like is if I see some nice price action around here, if I see these lows hold, then yeah, I'll look to enter a leverage position, right? Leverage because I look for a swing long basically, right? I want to put my spot into Sui instead. So I look for a swing long position on this. But if we do lose this, hopefully we get either between a 786, right? Between a 786 and an 886, right? If we get that, then it'd be a nice type 2 return on the original structure, and that type 2 return could then give us, like, you know, this. For example, you could have a crab, right? This crab 1.618 lines up with your primary projection of your deep Gartley, right? That's the primary projection of this harmonic here. So that'd be a very confluential trade to take, right? For example, you know, if we got, let's say, if you got a 786, for example, right? Just throwing some ratios out there. But if you got a 7, currently we're at a 446, right? Let's say if you got a, you know what? Let's be even more. Let's say we got a 618, right? From a 618, that's still gonna be to the primary projection. That would still be a 351% gain, right? If we did get that pullback. So I'm just gonna be setting alerts up, right? And if we don't lose this as support, right? If I see a cumulative structure coming in over here, attempt from sellers to get level, but buyers absorbing them, then yes, you know, I'll just buy here with, I'll take the risk here, tight stop losses, and then I'll try to attempt to cash that trade to the upside, right? But you know, if we do turn this into resistance, we don't see a cumulative structure coming in, we don't see aggressive buyers being rewarded here, then I think maybe we do get that 618, the 786, the 886, so on and so forth. Right? If you got that, it'd be a blessing in my opinion. Go take out some liquidity and then go back up. But are we going to get blessed with our pullback? Lord knows. We'll have to see. Right? We'll have to see. But these are the 4 I'm watching right now. And if you guys know any other projects that look good on Sui, just throw them our way. We're gonna create a whole watch list for them, and then we'll do it. right? We'll just take a look at it. The amount of volume that came into SWE, that's all. This is what, this isn't me giving you TA right now, right? This is me even speaking from a gut instinct kind of perspective. Why would this project, right, pump so hard when nothing else did? Right? And it's not like one of those pump and dump schemes, right? Like, you went down, you did the healthy retracement. It's not like you free fell like, Omcoin did, or, it's not like a coordinated sell off to extract liquidity for the, bag holders or something like this, right? It was a sell-off, but the sell-off at the end of the day respected TA. You hit the 886, you hit key levels, you accumulated at the lows before you went off. So this isn't random price action, right? There's no other alt that really did this, gave you such a healthy move up, right? Near enough a 2x, right, on the layer 1. Of course, that's why Cetus, so on and so forth, did so well, and I kept telling you guys about Cetus especially, right? There's no other alt that did this. Right, and now I see a lot of activity, a lot of mindshare on SWE. I see a lot of volume being, a lot of activity that's going on the actual chain itself. I think it's going to be very good to shift attention to SWE. Okay, so I've already got a spot bag, but I want to make that spot bag bigger. Okay, I want to get this up to high. I want to get this up to like a very high percentage of my holding. I want to break into my top 3 to top 5 basically. Right now it's in my top 10, not in my top 5 or top 3, right? So I'm going to break it in. I don't care. Like, ultimately I think SWE's going to do well. So my average at the end of the day, all I need to do is use my 20-40-40, right? And I've already, the allocation I originally had for SWE, that's already in, right? So now anything extra I have, I need to be very careful when I put it in if I don't want to ruin my average unnecessarily, which is why I'm going to be only entering when I see those key significant events happening on the charts, right? But I will be adding more, right? I'm going to get this up to somewhere between 200 to 250k in just like spot holding, like USD value, right? If I can get it to that, I think I'll be a very, very happy man. But I don't want to do that in a very, very stupid way. So I'm just going to be looking at opportunities. That's my goal. If I can't get into there without completely decimating my average, I don't care. Right, I'll just get it up to what I'm happy with, and then I'll just hold for the rest of it. I'm already happy with the bag I do have. I just want more. Right? You could say this is a form of FOMO, but this is the good type of FOMO. This is not the FOMO where you're buying tops. This is the FOMO where you're like, okay, the project looks good. I'm gonna wait till I see a good opportunity, then I'm gonna strike. That's it. If I don't get the opportunity, I'll look for ecosystem plays on the SWE that give me something like that, or I'll just look for other coins that look like they have very good RR. Right? At the end of the day, I'm not gonna be marrying the bag, but I'm favoring SWE right now, right? So, do you guys know any other projects underneath SWE outside of these 4, by the way?
Yeah, will you look at Velo for me?
Oh, is that VELO?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look. Is this on the SWE as well?
No, it's a Stellar Lumen. I think it's on the Stellar network. I can't really remember. It has something to do with Stellar.
VELO USDT. Is this one, isn't it? Like VELO? Velodrome, basically.
Yeah, I'm using the KuCoin chart.
Okay, let's take a look. USD first to get the crypto on, and then I'll get the Coinbase one on, and then we'll look at everything else. KuCoin, OKEx, Mexi, Gate, Bybit, BitGet. That's it. Okay, so which one has the? Oh yeah, this is a. So this goes back to. I don't really think it matters, but just in case, 2020 September. Yeah, so not this one. 14th of September 2020. Yeah, so I'm going to use the KuCoin chart. Yeah, this is an old chart for me. You can tell by the way I'm doing a key FAs. Okay, so in that case, I've done this before. I can go ahead and get rid of everything else. Imagine you're someone who sees this on BitGet and you think, oh my god. And then you realize you've got a chart that looks like this. Okay. Okay, what the hell am I going to do here? I think I did this on log. Yeah, this would have been log. key inflection areas. I'm gonna get rid of this. This is old, very, very old. So I'm just gonna hide it for now. But to be honest, we can just look at this and log for now. Let's keep it simple. Well, that's the range you're playing with. Okay, let's hide this for now then. Let's get off log, and then can we even do anything from here? We've got it. Right, you guys know what these are. I'm not gonna say these out loud because this is gonna go on public YouTube. Right, let's keep some source for you guys, but I'm just gonna mark it out, okay? So
What the fuck are those?
what are they indeed? What am I doing? I'm spazzing out. Someone stop me.
Yeah, like what are those? What the hell?
Right, there we go. And an obvious retest that's happened here is clearly this. And let's make it a nice sunny color. Do you know what? Let's not. There we go. And double dip in. So I'm not going to mark this out because that's gonna over. You know what? No. Okay. So in terms of key areas, what are you doing? We do not touch this. Again, you can see why we've been ranging where we are, right? I got really lucky here with the lines. Damn. We can see why we're ranging here. We need to get above this to get higher. That's the only way we're going to get higher on velo. Otherwise, where we are right now, I wouldn't touch it. But above this, you've got massive room for growth. Right? Massive. Above this, you're talking, let's say we take it from even the high, in fact, you're talking about a 63% move up to take all these liquidity outs next, right? If you're going to take all these liquidity outs, I'd be
Is that
looking
on the
at,
SUI network as well? No.
no, this one isn't. Velo isn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just this project on its own, but I'd be looking for that move up there. What you need to do is you need to take these highs out, right? You do have targets to the upside, but there is a lot of resistance. One mistake people make with charts like this is they think, okay, look how low we've come. Like all he needs to do is go to this price to get this much. But the problem is you need a lot of liquidity now you need a reason for a lot of liquidity to come in to then go and take those out, right? Just because you have a target on a chart doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get taken out. So for now, let's just keep it right in terms of what we see. Locally, we do see growth, which is absolutely beautiful to see. So I'm going to turn these on once again. Right, there we go. In fact, can we do this any other way? Can I put on, do I have, before I do this, do we have any wave structures to exploit? Let me take a look. Looks like an 886 in terms of, for example, this low. Yeah, I'm just autistic that way. Just look at the screen and be like, yeah, that looks like an 886. Okay, 1 second. Alright, for me that's a 0.5. This is going to be well within the realms of a bat. Right, there you go. 0.382 basically, perfect. 3.048, a bit of an extension, but that's because I've obviously put that B to the 0.5, right? If we take it to the extreme, that's going to be completely valid. Therefore, this for me is within the allowed ranges of a bat. So we're going to take it to the 0.5. We're going to take this to the 886. There we go. So again, we have a completed wave structure over here on Velo. about 0.886. And yeah, you know what? We're gonna change the color for this for sure. Let's make it white. There. Perfect. Okay. So we've got a wave structure completed. We've got it completed. There we go. Your T1 again for us, you know what the actual terminal 1 line is, but for me, it's the zone. It's the zone, right? Here's your first target in terms of the harmonics. Here's your second. So should you get over this, you know what you're targeting first. If you can get above this, you get your level. And if you can get above that, you get your T2. Right? If you can get above that, you're looking for the extremes to get taken out. And if you can get above that, I'd honestly just watch for the primary projection next, 1.618. You know, to go take out this high, so on and so forth, right? The primary projection. But yeah, that's Velo.
Nice.
Let me get into the habit of putting this on the chart up. So let me do this. Scenario 1, right? And then otherwise we're looking for a pullback towards here, maybe get a smiley face, and then bid the smiley face to go higher. Ooh, let's make it.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, so the smiley face isn't guaranteed.
That looks good,
Depends
yeah.
entirely on how hard is Bitcoin gonna drop, right? And even then, now we're getting to the stage where we've got to consider Bitcoin dominance as well. If Bitcoin drops, but dominance, Bitcoin stays fairly stable, tight range, but dominance start dropping, altcoins are gonna absolutely rocket, right? So now we got to think about that. But again, is this something I'd park a lot of money in? Probably not, right? I think in terms of mind share and stuff, I don't think many people are talking about Velo. I could be wrong, right? For me, Twitter's purely just for like shit posting, so I'm not really sure if people on CT are talking about it. But just give me the box, bro. Why is giving me all the options? Hang on. This buyer zone, this smiley face, this would be beautiful Wyckoff if we got it here. So hopefully we get that. In fact, let me set an alert up. I need to do this. I need to keep myself accountable. I never do, and I miss half the setups I give out. Add alerts on Velo. There we go. So now we're going to get alerted if that does go off. You know what? Let me move that alert higher actually. Hang on. Let me delete that alert. Let me bond that alert. We're going to get another one going. We're going to get this alert going. Just so we don't miss it, I'm just going to do it slightly above, right? Somewhere here. The add alert on Velo, just a random alert. If it crosses this, chances are we're going to get this box, right? So that's that. And you ultimately taking it up towards your primary projection, right? If the lows never get visited again. So let me go ahead and why have I got that color, man? One sec. Right. T1, T2, and then yeah, primary projection. That's already written there. There you go. So let me do that, and then I'll go ahead and I'll put in the server. One sec. Yeah, I'll take a look at render too, bro. Don't worry. Any questions you guys have, we'll go over them. Just wanted to focus your guys' attention specifically on SWI, right? Where is it? Chart dump. Okay. Velo from stream. Okay, there we go. That's that. So that's Velo. Okay. Let's take a look then. Okay, so if you guys do find, right, if you guys if you guys do your own sort of research and you come across a project that looks interesting on SWI, just put it in crypto chat and tag me. Right, we'll go over what it is, what kind of use cases could it have, what kind of mind share can it achieve, right? How much of the market can it capture? We'll think about shit like that, and then we'll do the actual TA. We'll just YOLO some money into it. Realistically, if SWI goes up, the ecosystem will thrive. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. Plus, I've not seen anything saying that Pokemon thing is fake yet, right? If that Pokemon thing is real, just that itself could give us a massive pump in liquidity. So let's take a look. Okay, that's VLOW. Let's switch over. Let me add this to V2 so that I can check back on it. So let's look at render next, because I think someone mentioned render. Yeah. Far corner and AVAX, so we'll take a look at that too, bro. Render. Let's look at render and then we'll look at far corner and AVAX. So I believe we've gone over render before over here. Are you kidding me? We've definitely gone over this. I've got harmonics and shit on this, so why is it just a few boxes? Does this happen to you guys too, where you've got like really old drawings that pop up and your new ones are just like, you know, binned off? I don't know why it happens, but yeah, these are from old ones, right? Just to make sure, let me go on this and also go on render. Yeah, okay, yeah, I've really not, whatever. Right, we'll just do it new here. Okay, so let's take a look again. I'm just gonna do some witchcraft. So we immediately see a key level we need to watch, right? Immediately, because that's what render tried to flip. That's what it tried to flip. That's what it couldn't flip. You got the huge SFP around your key level. That is what has nuked you for now, right? You can see even on the lower time frame, you would have had inverted smiley face over here. But let's do more, right? We can get more. Let's get some more bullshittery on the chart. So we're clearly interested in the 2023 range, and that is what I'd be marking down. So we have and of course you can put the seller zone down too. Right, I'm not going to do it now because it's going to look absolutely messy, but you can do that. Right, you do have a seller zone here you can put down. So we have an area now, not just a singular level, but rather an area that we've needed to get above. And we can see why this is the area that render's been chopping between. Right, this is your 23 level, right, and this is again price action in 25. Still very much significant. Resistance, support, and then once again chop, but no acceptance above. No acceptance above the key level. Right? You don't see any successful retests. You don't see any expansions when buyers have the chance to do so. Do we have anything else we can put down here? Of course, now you can go ahead and be like, okay, let me just see 1 second. I think that's worth putting down, to be honest. And we'll just make this one red, and let's tick off the 0. Don't need it. Actually, you know what, I'll leave it on, right, just to show there is something there, but I'm not going to mark it out, right? Yeah, that's good. Otherwise these two will just mark, so that becomes your 22 now. 12, you just say 22 high, right? Start getting more and more cryptic with my descriptions. 22 12-month macro read, seller zone, mid. You can put more data on if you want, right? You can put the buy zone, like I said, the seller zone, so on and so forth. But in the name of not making a chart too messy, this is more than enough. So again, if we take a look, then either you get this, and this is on a larger scale, right? Because since we're looking at yearly levels, there's no point expecting these to happen in days. It could happen in an hour, it could happen in a week, right? It could happen in a month. But to go higher, this needs to happen. And until you're below this, what what you're going to be focusing on is perhaps we're going to get something like that. Again, if we were to get that, we could end up getting some really nice sort of smiley face before we go higher, right? But realistically, you look for bids like, when you get deep enough, right? You don't have to hit that level exactly, but if you see, okay, renders at an interesting area, for example, you might notice that what you have here is a daily buy zone, right? Really nice daily buy zone. So what you might say is you've hit the actual top of the buy zone. You've not actually hit the yearly level, but the yearly buy zone mid is the yearly buy zone, the daily buy zone is held, right? These have all been rated, so you can just start layering in there. You don't have to get exact tap, right? So either waiting for something like this, or you're waiting for that flip to enter on render. Bed shaker, bro. Those are the two entries you've got on this one. And you can again go ahead and do key inflection areas to make this much easier on yourself, right? So you've got way more than enough data to get proper key inflection areas down. You've got one macro consolidation range right here. You're currently building out your second consolidation range, right? So more than enough data to put historical price ranges, key inflection areas on, right? But that's that. Now the next question is, do we have any interesting wave structure in this area? So the fact of the matter is, if that, no, there was a nice opportunity for an alternate bat here, but that is deeper than a 382, so we cannot claim an alternate bat. We can't do it, right? That is, yeah, they're giving us now perfect bat ratios. Otherwise, this would have been a really, really nice alternate bat. Okay, so we don't have an alternate bat. Let's see. Let me just cross my eyes, see if I can spot anything else. What about a butterfly? Doesn't look quite. Yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't quite look like a 786. I can't say that's a butterfly. What about then a? So if that's a 0.5, it's not going to be a crab. It's not going to be a crab here. Okay, so nothing there. What about something like this then? Perhaps a deep crab? Okay, so for a deep crab, we know we're looking at the 1.618. This is entirely too deep. Right, for this, the deep crab would have ended over here. So 2.618, although it's a valid ratio, right? Did I even get that right? I saw 2.618 there, I thought, but no. Yeah, so it's not a deep crab either. It's way too deep. What about then ABCDs? Let's just keep it simple. Focus on some 4 points. 2.0 extension is what we're after. The 2.0 extension came in right over there, right? Hang on. So an ABCD, there we go. We do have an ABCD. For wave structures, we have a 4-point. Just stacking confluence here, right? I'll try to keep it quick. I know I can be a bit slow when I'm drawing these out. There, but that's your ABCD. Yeah, perfect. There, so an extra form of confluence for why this hold here is going to be important, right? As long as we can now stay above, we validate this wave structure. We say, yeah, we've got the 0.5, we've got the 2.0, therefore we'll be looking for that move higher. So we're building confluence, right? We've got the ABCD, and of course you might find some lower time frame ABCDs in here as well. But let's just look for macros for now to save on time. Now, the question is, do we have anything on this side of the spectrum? So let me go to the weekly and let me take a look at let's make it a bit extreme now. Okay, 1 sec. Let's go with some ridiculous ratios. Let's leave that down once. Okay, so if we go from that low, would we find anything? If we get no, so nothing with that, right? If we can't treat this as 618, it's too deep. What about down over here? So we have a 0.55. So that's a 0.5. Not an 886. Definitely not an 886. Would have been nice. Because I remember looking at some sort of macro wave structure on this like a while back. Again, even though it's deleted from my screen. So I'm going to leave this bat on, okay? This is very much a bat. Look, right? That A has not in any way disregarded this C. Okay, so if we're talking 886s, right? If we're talking Bitcoin gets one more flush, if we're talking Bitcoin goes to 80, like low 80s or something like this, mid 80s before we go higher, then in my opinion we could very easily be talking this, especially Bitcoin dominance rockets. Okay, so I would have a alert up, right? I'm not going to ask you to set limits. Limit setting is completely up to you. You know my thoughts regarding on when to versus when not to do limits, right? And how to do limits more importantly. But here is your deep value, your wave structure, and your premium entry, in my opinion. And by premium I mean like A5 Wagyu entry, right? Let's keep that white, and we're talking about the macro bat 0.886. And if it gets there, my alerts pinged, I will give you guys the entry, not only the entry trigger, but I'll also tell you how I'm going to enter. You guys know my entry strategy on the higher time frame. If it's leverage, you guys also know my difference between how I enter on the higher time frame versus the lower time frame. So you can leave that part up to me, right? However, do please set the alerts up yourself, right? Don't rely just on me. You guys know my timing is extremely volatile, just like the market. So I might not be able to like alert this, or I might miss the play myself because I can't buy in time or something like this, right? If I'm away from the screens for an elongated period of time. But that right there, if we continue this lower high, right, and we go lose this level, I think that'd be a very nice bid. That'd be a very nice bid. Go take out this liquidity pocket, right? You've not taken 50% out of the liquidity pocket yet, so perhaps go stockpile all the people that have longed that I think they're safe. So if you guys know my thoughts on double bottom structures, right? Yes, they're nice, they indicate where buy stepped in, but they also represent areas now where obviously stops are going to be below. So this could be one massive liquidity raid entry waiting to happen, right? So let's see. So again, thoughts very simple, right? Let's go over here. Let's put this on it's on the weekly, right? That should be fine. Either this for an entry, right? Or you get some sort of smiley face structure created back at this area that we're looking at. If you get that smiley face, you enter somewhere around here. If you get down here and buys do not step in, don't do anything until either you reclaim this level, right? Or you go to your next key area and then buy step in. So basically don't do anything till buy step in, right? If set some alerts up at your key level. If no one steps in, keep an eye on it, but set alerts up for a lower key level in case you lose it. If buyers do step in and you see defense going on over some time, then you bid at the key level. Very simple. But again, that's a lot of SFPs right now on the weekly, right? Below your key area, based off levels from 23, 24, and this is what 23, 24, and just 23 itself, right? So that becomes a very nice zone for us to enter on render. If we get it, if we lose this, then I would love this 886, right? Two areas of importance for me. Let me just circle them down. 1, 2, right? Or here's scenario number 1. There's scenario number 2. And obviously you could make another lower high and then drop, whatever, right? That's an offshoot. But this holding, and the scenario I hope we get eventually is this on render. So 3 different scenarios. And you simply wait for price action, tell you which one you're gonna get. Right? If buyers start now undoing the damage sellers did here, you start flipping this back into support, you're gonna be looking for scalp to swing longs. Minimum. Right? Minimum scalp to swing mindset at longs. Otherwise, if you want to go even heavier, you go spot, swing longs yourself, so on and so forth. But everything's going to be executed around key levels based on price action and risk management. That's it. Okay, you're not going to execute anything in the middle of nowhere. Okay. So let me put this into the chat as well, or rather into the chart dump. I'm not going to put it underneath the actual old section. I'll leave that for more active trades, right? But the chart dump here is for.
Did you already have a look at Farcoin, sorry?
No, not yet. I'll take a look at it in a minute, brother. This is what was this render? Right, that's render. Okay, so Farcoin and AVAX Nest. Let's take a look. Right, we have, and I need to add this now, of course, to v2. I need to create a whole section. Wait, in fact, let me do it now, and I'll call the section there, so I know which coins I've actually like called out. Right, let's move this up to maybe here. What's in section 1? Yeah, this are the nice coins. Okay. I want to quickly go over Bearer as well. The reason I want to go over it is, of course, because of this is why risk management, right, so important. What did I say? If we lose that level, get rid of it, right? What happened? We lost that key level we were talking about, right? So if we go to what was it? This. Yeah, there we go. This circle zone is what I mentioned in the chart, right? So you just see something like this, cut. And that's on the daily as well, right? You can get a head start to it if you're looking at like the 4 hours, and then you see, okay, SAPs have happened, right? You cut. Resistance. You're now turning, again, what's meant to be support into resistance. You cut, you open head short, so on and so forth. And the reason is, if you had not cut this, right, according to the risk management parameters that I gave you, right, you are now down from our entry. Our entry was around here, 22%, within a matter of 2 days. And which is what I've been saying, if you lose this, you cut. That was the risk management trigger, okay, on Bearer. Hopefully we get this deep crab now, right? We have the weekly buy zone mid, right? That was pre-marked. If you lose that, then what I really want is this area here, right? Some sort of reach there, some sort of structure. Like, I don't care if you reclaim structure. That's where we enter, even cheaper, right? But yeah, that's Bearer. Is anyone still in this by any chance? Holding in the red? I know, he's not in the stream, but I know Christopher took this. But he entered with the 20-40-40, so even if he's for some reason holding, he's not going to be down much. Nice. Okay, good. Good, Miranda. Nice. That's what it is, right? Many people hesitate to cut trades in the red. Just like you would hesitate, it's the same thing, right? When people hesitate to take profits because, oh, we could go higher, right? It's the same kind of mindset. You don't want to close in the red because, oh, what if it reclaims? I want to close it a bit higher. I don't want to take the loss. You take the L. And that's why I give you guys very tight risk management, right? Because the worst you could have had in this is, from our entry, even if you looked at the daily for a close, the worst is a 4.49% loss. On spot, that is absolutely nothing. Okay, if you were to get an entry now, let's say we do get a deep crab and we get a community structure, even if you get a lower high pump to this level again, you're going to make 78% back, right? So whatever L you took there, where you entered because you had a significant area, structure was coming in, buyers were defending, you had reasons, it wasn't a shit trade, okay? And people equate, stop losses being hit to shit trades, right? You'd be like, oh damn, I entered this trade. I'm a shit trader, my stops got hit. Don't think that way. Stops are there for a reason, right? So 4.49% was the maximum loss. And if you did time frame alignment, again, if you're looking at daily, 1 out of 4 hour price action, you'd have got out at like 1.5 to 2%, right? So I closed on my spots at like 2.2% loss in this. So that's Bearer. Not interested now until, basically, let's see what kind of reaction we get at the weekly. Ultimately, though, I do want this deep crab, right? I would hate it for this structure to go here and just end without completing. I hate it when you have such nice harmonics and they don't. Of course, I know I'm not owed anything, right? But it would be very nice if we did get that. So, 1 sec, I just spotted something. Is that a 618 here? Why? Yeah, no, it's a bit stretching it. It's stretching it. Very, very stretching it. At no point going for this one. We already have this one here. It's pretty much the same thing. Crazy though, isn't it? But yeah, you could argue for another harmonic here. Okay, a bit in context, because we're saying that the 618 came in over here. This would now be a deep crab, not deep crab. Sorry, the normal crab, right? 618. Hang on, let me just show you why, just in case there's any confusions. There is your 618. You can say there's your 886, and again, I know I've not marked the top of the wick, but what we're saying here is the B and the C are reactionary, right? You liquidity rated the 618, but ultimately, if you take a look, was the 618 respected? That's the important question. The answer is clearly yes. You closed above. Next time you came here, Canada bodies all above, right? And in the future, like, that's what you treated as resistance before you went higher, right? So the 618 was respected, therefore I'm putting it down as the actual anchor point. Same thing with the 886 here, right? There we go. Zoom in. Zoom in. There was the 86 respected. The answer is very much yes, right? Both times. SFP, SFP. Under the SFP, buy, try to get above, you can't. So for me, this harmonic is valid. Now, the pure harmonic traders would not look at this and be like, oh, I really like this harmonic. But for me, this is a extremely, extremely valid harmonic. Therefore, I'm going to throw it down. Extra confluence, you also have a normal crab, right? Taking you towards this area, basically. Okay. So let me just go ahead and turn that off for now. But you do have that going for you. There. But yeah. Hopefully we get the area on bearer. That'd be nice. So let's look at Farcoin next. This should be under section 1, unless I moved it to. Yes. Yeah. Okay. There we go. We looked at this as stream at one point. Okay, we were talking about a potential PO3 on Farcoin, which is why I gave you guys the signal saying, oh, I'm going to take heavy profits, not heavy, but I'm going to close out my scalp the swing long, and I'm cutting half of what I had. Right, so I realized 250k. The remaining is now just like, whatever. It stop loss to break even. I more than doubled my initial bag, right? So I'm not worried about what this does next, right? What we have is 382. We went to the 2.24. Again, remember reciprocal ratios, right? We have the 382. What are the reciprocal ratios? 2.24, 2.618, 3.14, and then 3.618. Those are your 4 reciprocal ratios for this, right? Just in order. You've hit the first one, right? I was hoping you would go as far as the second, right? Which is where the 2.618 was, which is why I put the top of this PO3 box, right, as distribution. But for now, what you've done is you've gone to the 2.24. Again, that's completely fine, right? The price action clearly told you sellers were stepping in at the 2.24, which is why, even though we hadn't gone to why I expected, I told you guys, you know what, I'm taking profits here on Farcoin. I'm closing out my scalp to swing long, right? What you have now is a rising wedge breakdown. As you can see, you can just do this, and you can do this. Probably just mark it out with a triangle, to be honest. But there's your rising wedge. You've got the breakdown from the rising wedge, right? Now, of course, this can very easily do this in the future, right? But that was extra confluence that you did have, right, in during this breakdown here. Again, which is another reason why I told you guys, yeah, I'm closing out my Farcoin spot. Did I sell the top of this move? No. But like I said, I do not care. This is me showing you guys live that I stand by what I mean. I don't care if I don't quote unquote sell tops, sell the exact top for my spot bag. Okay. When you make profits that most people dream of making in like 20 years working a 9 to 5, you're not going to care if you sell up here or you sell down over here, right? So when I see that, okay, the sellers are stepping in my key area and there's acceleration going on, and then you've got, the rising wedge breakdown and stuff, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to take some profits here because it'd be stupid of me to just hold this, right? What's the point? I can take that, yeah, it might go higher in the future, but I can take that profit that I did take and then rotate into other coins, right? Now I have more liquid to rotate into SWI, right? I have more liquid to rotate into other SWI beta plays, for example, right? Different things to do. We started, stupid challenge leverage account, whatever, right? And that's the main thing about this, right? You're not thinking about selling exact tops and bottoms. Just watch your portfolio value go up. That should be a target. So Farcoin down to 2024 12-month seller zone low, right? Again, trying to go. You do have a raid. You can tell just by looking at it. It's subtle, but it's there. The raid is there. There's your raid. So again, if we hold this, like, if we hold this, then we might get a range trade back up towards the mid, for example, before we get a breakdown, right? But there's a reason why we can bounce from here, right? We can see this. You can think of this like a key inflection area. There's been deviation to the downside. There's been deviation to the upside on the lower time frame. You hit that deviation zone. You add to key inflection area locally, right? If that holds, expect the move to the range mid. Basically, there's your range mid. There's your range highs, and that's it. So if you get a daily close above on Farcoin like this, right? What I would be looking for, if you're completely sidelined, is it's going to be a bit harder, right? But what I'd be looking for is, let's say the daily were to close like this. Does the next day give you a pullback towards the mid? You see this happen a lot, right? Go for the mid of the daily previous day seller zone. Whenever that mid does happen, if it holds, that's why I'd be looking for longs. Okay. Of course, you can take the risk. Let's say the daily were to close like this. You can open up your long, like this, right? I mean, there's nothing saying you can't. And you put your stops, for example, below your deviation range, right? Something like this. You can do that. Risk to reward will still give you a worthy trade, but of course now, time frame alignment. You know, looking at daily price action, you're looking at 1 out of 4 hour entry models for me, right? So I would definitely, you know, harness the power of time frame alignment to get your RR as maximal as you can, basically. Okay. But the general thesis for Filecoin is if you close the daily above this zone, you have a chance at least taking it back towards the 2024 12-month seller zone mid. Okay. In fact, you guys should be very familiar with this. I know a few of you scalp this coin a lot, right? But yeah, very, very beautiful move up, right? And again, there's going to be people calling the top for Filecoin already, right? As it topped out, who knows? I don't care though, I've secured profits, right? If you now break structure on the daily, right? Let me look at the weekly first, actually. Let me switch over to the weekly, right? So the weekly doesn't have much, all it has is green candles, so I need 3 days next. So the last higher low, right? That led to the higher high on the 3 days right over there. Okay, fine. What about the daily? The last higher low that led to the higher high is right there. Technically, that is a change of character, right? So now if you go and put a lower high in, then you can look for head shorts, because then you have an argument like, okay, but we do have a change of character. If that lower high plays out, maybe we get one more flush and maybe the downtrend continues, right? That'd be your first sign of again, going from the right side of the V, right, to the left side of the V, or going to a downtrend, right? But if you go and completely outdo this damage and you go and you start doing this, for example, right, you get no follow through to the downside, you hold, and eventually you reclaim, and that's not going to do any damage whatsoever. You're going to go back up, okay? So just be careful of people that are already doom posting Filecoin, okay? Now, I'm not going to be telling you to put everything you have into Filecoin here. Like I told you guys repeatedly, many times, we talked about, like, you know, this is a very good area for Filecoin. We looked at the smiley face. We said, okay, this is the only thing that's actually showing relatively good strength at this point in time, back in March. Over there, I'll give you like all the bids you want, right? All the buy Filecoin, buy Filecoin encouragement. I'm not going to tell you to buy here, because I'm not going to buy here now. Right? I'm not looking to size up, nothing. I'm risk free. I'm not going to be touching this. The only reason I'll touch this is if I'm looking for like scalp leverage trades, right? If I see a really good swing opportunity, if you do get a deep pullback, for example, right? So let's say we were to get something like this, retest, and then you were to reclaim. So if you were to get something like that, yeah, I'd be looking for, like, you know, some swing plays. I wouldn't add any spot. I don't think I would. I'd just rotate that. I'd rather rotate the spot in something else. I'm happy with the spot bag I have, but I would open a fresh trade, swing long, so on and so forth, right? But scalp the swing long, sorry, leverage, because scalp the swing mindset trades, right? But I'm not going to be telling you to buy here. Right? Buy spot, it's up to you, right? Do you want to buy? It's up to you. Risk management, you guys know my thoughts. If you lose this, if you get below, close it, because chances are you're going to go down to 72 cents. If you lose 93.503 and 22 resistance, you lose this key inflection area, you will eventually go down to 72 cents, in my opinion, right? So with that in mind, if you do decide you want some spots here because you didn't buy any and you feel like this can go higher, right, it's completely up to you to manage your risks, okay? The risk is, again, I'm telling you, if you lose this and you turn this to resistance, even a close below it, you can look for dailies, you can look for 1 out of 4 hour. Depends entirely on how jumpy are you, how quickly do you want to pull the trigger, how quickly do you want to go out, right? You're going to do so at a loss of this level. And more specifically, if you draw a key inflection area around this level, right? So just literally put something like this down, hang on. Something like that, right? There's your key inflection area. If you go and lose this, then yeah, that's it. Cut this. Look for lower, right? You don't want to be holding this when you are below this, because chances are you're probably going to visit these lows again. Probably going to get that retest at that point, right? But as long as you hold this, you've got scalp the swing long opportunities, right? As long as you're above this 2024 12-month seller zone low, you have got scalp the swing opportunities to the upside. So that's Filecoin, bro, for you. We'll take a look at ENA, bro. Rather get liquidation emails, yeah. Collect them all like Pokemon cards, bro. Yo, Ediko, hello, brother. Welcome. First stream for you as well.
Hi, how you doing, man?
Yeah, how you doing, bro?
So I just come from work. Sorry about that. I was working gym. I just saw your messages. I will need to reply.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
No problem at all, brother. Man. Glad to have you, man. Glad to have you. Just going
Thank
over
you,
some updates on some plays we looked at before, but I'll be throwing a load of new ones out again once I think the time's right, in terms of, like, you know, harmonics and stuff. Just being a bit
Fantastic.
more
I will put some of my ideas. I'm not saying they are good. It's just I'm putting
of
that.
course, no. Put as many as
Maybe
you want.
people
Yeah, the
they
section's
see I
there
love
for you guys.
criticism. So
Yeah, Yeah,
Yeah.
bro, of course. And if you have any questions, just put it in chat. Yeah, we'll get it sorted.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Right. Okay, so that is Farcoin, right? Again, I'm only going to be looking for leverage trades, right? And that's going to be scalp the swings as well. I'm not looking for any swings here. Like, that's just not me. It's not the way I trade. No swings here for me. Only scalp the swing opportunities. And if I do want to look for, again, like, let's say some potential swing opportunities, right? Then it's going to be at lower levels. I'm not going to do it here. Okay, I'm already positioned, right, with enough. So that's Farcoin, and the other one you asked for is AVAX. So let's take a look at AVAX. Let's go to focus. Right. Yeah, we never got that lower high. See, this is why I said wait for that lower high. This is what I mean. Look what SWE did compared to what AVAX did. And I'm by no means trying to shit on AVAX, right? AVAX is a higher cap market coin, higher market cap coin at the end of the day. I'm by no means trying to shit on AVAX, but it didn't go and take out the last lower high like I wanted, right? So technically, the trend hasn't changed, and this is why price action is so useful, right? Or rather, being able to read price action, looking for certain triggers is so nice. So we can get rid of this now. We didn't get that lower high. What we did do is we hit the seller zone that was created at this area, right? There we go. And again, this is the reason I told you guys I'm closing all my scalp to swing mindset trades, right? AVAX was we had a scalp to swing AVAX long open, the one that I showed you earlier, right? The reason we closed this out is because there is no strength coming in at this area. There just isn't, right? There's no strength. It's not what you want to see, right? It's just not what you want to see at all. So, what we do have right now, you can't write this off, right? This is now very similar to what SWE did, right? You had your supply line breakout. This is now your retest. The only thing is you haven't taken out the trend, which makes this a bit more stinky, right? But if you can now flip this into support, eventually I think that does get taken out. You do go higher, but it's just that it hasn't happened yet, right? Now, is this the one for AVAX? It probably isn't. Where is the one? This is what you're going to be wanting to see. Hang on. There we go. This is more like it, right? So I can't. Hang on. Where did I? This is old. Where did I do the AVAX? Is it this one? There we go. This is what you guys want to see. Need to take this fucker out. That's what we were talking about. But guess what? We didn't take the fucker out, right? So now, we can't be surprised if we get a pullback back towards 17 even. Right? We can't be surprised. Now there might be lower time frame things happening. Right? We're gonna switch off the weekly in a minute. But the high time frame thesis for AVAX still stands. Okay. Nothing's happened here invalidating anything we've said. Okay. So all the things we looked at, this macro wave structure, part of the ongoing type 2. This deep crab, right here. And of course we know there's loads of other things, right? So macro fixed range volume profile, point of controls down over there, historical price ranges, that's the lows, that's not what we're interested in. Where did I could have sworn, oh, I know why, hang on, there and there, perfect. Okay, the point of control, the macro point of control is still down over there. Okay, so as long as we're above that, we're Gucci, we're fine, right? So basically it's around 17.14 right now. Go and mark that out on the chart if you want. But let me turn this out, it's lagging the screen out. There we go. We still have the macro 886 down over there, right? So we still have key areas here. Like if you could go down and hold this, we'll be fine, right? We're just going to get more opportunities to try and build positions to the upside. All these targets still valid. We've hit the 886s. What we don't want to see, of course, is we don't want to see breakdown, turn this area into resistance, right? And don't accept above, because then what you're saying is you're probably gonna carry on going lower. These 886s get invalidated. All of a sudden, all of your this target, right? This target, the Gottlieb target, all of those go out the window, right? Because the 86 is the max extension you're looking for. Anything after this is going to be either a cipher or a shark, right? And those are just not a position you want to be in, basically, on the macro for AVAX, which is why I don't think it's going to happen. Okay, but we do want to see now strength coming in here. So let's now look for more lower time frame structures on this, right? Do we have anything on the lower time frame that could indicate, you know, we're at a significant area? Maybe you want to look for some bids. So just as a precaution, I'm gonna go ahead and throw on this. I'm gonna treat it like a zone. Here is a weekly buy zone, right? Here, weekly buy zone from history. If you can hold this, that'd be great, right? So the mid of that buy zone is just below you. That's around 1887. Okay. So let's leave that on, and then let's switch time frame. So what about on the daily? Do we have any wave structure? In fact, I think 4 hours is going to be a better one to look at. So off this low, we have it's a 618 in my eyes. 1.618 has already hit, and no good reaction off for now. So first and foremost, we have a 618. There we go. 1.618 is going to be right over here. $19.32, very important level on the 4 hours. If you're scalping this, if you see a reclaim of this, you guys know what that means now. Are you looking for scalp to swing mindset longs? Okay. AB equals CD 1.618. There you go. Go with the light blue. Go with the light blue. Perfect. So you can see support, right? Support. Plenty of scalp to swing opportunities off that, right? Once, twice. You're turning into resistance for now. So that's that. Anything else? Right, now these are going to be more locals, so I'm just going to go ahead and call them local price action. So do I see anything else? So what about 5 points? Or what about 5-point wave structures? So firstly, from here to here. Nope. So this would be a next one. Very close to an 886, right, in terms of a bat. So basically we're building out layers upon layers of key area, right? So it'd be nice if we could get this. I'm just going to go ahead and mark this out for now. So what we're doing is building out PRZs within which you can attempt trades on the lower time frame, right? Because macro levels are nice, but there's no guarantees every time you reject off a key area you're going to go back to your next macro level. The market's not that nice to give you the same significant levels over and over and over again. So this becomes your internal, and this is what I was talking about earlier, by the way, bro, when I was saying internals versus externals. This is your internal bat, 0.886, okay? And why am I calling it internal? I'm calling it internal because we have not gone to the external range to get this, right? The external range would be like, you know, that's an internal. The external would be all the way down over here, for example, right? So that's your first internal. Second internal will be from here. Third internal would be from there, for example, right? If you're talking extremes. So for me, that's that. So what have you got right now? You have got, we're going to put everything on the local price action. You've got a really nice PRZ here already, right? If you now do get a rate, tap this, and you see a reclaim, smiley faces coming in here, you know you're going to take a bait. You're not going to wait for the 886 to hit because there's no guarantees. Anytime you get a low, this is exactly where you come back. Right, when it's there, you pay attention. After it's gone, there's no guarantees you're going to keep coming back to this level every single time you have a dump, right? That's not how significant levels work. So this is the first area we're going to pay attention to. And that's all we're doing. We're building out a PRZ, an area where we can try and get a read on the buyers, the sellers, right? And see, okay, is there a reason why we should be taking a bid here? Are we at a significant level? Can we manage our risk? And, you know, what's the price action telling me? Those three things. If you go here and price action starts telling you sellers are starting to be absorbed, buyer strength is coming in, you would build your position here. You wouldn't wait for, you know, for example, $17 again, because you realize you might not get that, because at the end of the day, you have a 4-point and a 5-point wave structure lining up here. And even if you look historically, this is areas where both buyers and sellers have been active in the past. So it's also, even in the sense of traditional support resistance, it is also that, right? So there's that. Anything else that we can spot? Let me turn those off for now. Is there anything else in terms of wave structure that we can spot? Well, if we do, we've gone to this. If we do this to this, close to a 382, but not quite. 0.5. Right, so if that's a 0.5, it's not quite a 618. So again, that's another 886. So if you lose that, your next key level on AVAX would be down over here. So what I'll do after I put all these down is I will give you guys a lower time frame perspective, like the one we're looking now. I get rid of the higher time frame levels so there's no confusions, okay? Because for the higher time frame levels, they're already under the old section, so you can find them there. This is your internal 2. I'm going to say the second internal bat, 0.886, and this one can be. Let's use purple. Why not? There, right? Perfect. There we go. And only if that is lost do we get, and we don't have any wave structures coming lower for now. So the next wave structure would be, you know, this. .363. So now you're going into the realms of the alternate bat, right? 1.13. Talk about a potential radon liquidity. So I'm not gonna go. You know what? I'm not gonna go lower than that for now. Okay, I'm not gonna go lower than that for now because we're gonna get more wave structures developing by the time we get there. So for now, right? If I turn this off, and this off. But if you were to focus on the actual lower time frame, so let's get it out of the way, let's get the confusion out of the way. What do you have? This is your weekly, right? In fact, let me put it on as, again, a fib so you can see the levels, right? And let me do current cycle for now. There. Let me get rid of the box, right? You are within your weekly buyer zone from history, right? Very buyer zone from history, very important buyer zone from history. You're within that right now. So you've got your key levels, and even within that, you're right now within a zone where you want to pay attention, right? You have with the 0.5, you've got the 1.618 internal bat, and even within that, this is your, so you have level number 1. If you lose that, you have level number 2 here. If you get below this, you have level number 3, and if you get below that, then we can look for, you know, other wave structures, and we can look for, at that point, you probably do get this, right? You probably get your actual 886 at the bat this low, right? You probably get this zone if you get below, right? But for now, these are for the lower time frame, these are the 4 areas I'll be focusing on. You are currently focusing on 2. You want that drive down into either long, the retest of 1, right? Because I don't care if this looks like a front run, just wait for that confirmation. If you're using leverage, might as well be patient, right? Wait to get above this to look for scalp to swing mindset longs to go high if you're trading, or to just build out your spot positions, so on and so forth, if you're trying to build spot positions. And if you lose it, just cut it, exactly like we did with Ondo, right? Number 3 would be your next area, you know, and if you get below number 3, then you have number 4, so on and so forth. Just set alerts up. And then again, if you look at daily price action, you're looking at 1 hour to 4 hour entry models, right? If you're looking at 1 hour price action, 1 minute to 5 minute entry models, so on and so forth, you can still enter with spot at those. If you want to keep your spot risk management really tight, you can treat your entire spot allocation like you're doing some ridiculously crazy leverage trade, right? But for now, I'd either wait to see what kind of price action do you get once you tap into 2. For me, that would be the PRZ, right? Because you have the BAT 86 and you have that 0.5 from history, or the reclaim of the ABCD 1.618. Those would be my 2 entry triggers for AVAX right now. If you turn this into resistance also, then it's 3, and if you lose that, then it's 4. Very simple, right? So let's go ahead and, in fact, why did I get rid of all of that? Let me go back to the 4 hours. And we'll do this. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. Copy image. Those are your points of interest, let's say, for this. Okay, let's take a look. We have, where shall I put this one? I'll put this one under, do you know, I'll put this one under AVAX itself, right? Right, so Areas of interest to watch price action for AVAX for the to attempt to catch the next leg up. And I'll tag all you guys there. Sorry, I need to sort the pings out right now. I'll just do everything. Add everything for like, sorry, add everyone for all of them. I need to sort the pings out. But yeah, that's AVAX. And I'll look at ENA and I'll end it there for today. I'll look at ENA and then I'll end it there for today. And if you guys have any other coins you want me to look at, put it under chart requests, right? And I'll get back to it when I have time again, and I'll just put it underneath the chart request area. Otherwise, hype on the way up still, moving up. And this is what we said for hype, right? We said if you get above this white box, you're going to carry on going higher. So we got that now. We could, going back into the old consolidation range over here on hype, just wanted to touch on this real quick. Old consolidation range is over here now, right? So, you know, if you do get another lower high here, then the macro trend does continue on, and maybe we get some sort of big flush before we get a final addition. Otherwise, you know, you're just looking for that first sizable flush to enter. Do not buy just solid green candles. Never. I don't care if this goes to $40 from here. You're not going to be able to manage your risk here. That's the main thing. Okay. So if you get any sort of pullback now back towards this low, then yeah, you can try and enter that trade, right? Because then you have a shot. What we're saying is you have a shot at. Let me leave that on for future updates. You have a shot at reclaiming your key levels around that area, right? So if you look at the daily, weekly, for example, over here, you have a very clear weekly buy zone right over there, right? And that is what you're trading within right now. If this daily closes like this, what you also have, in fact, is hopefully you realize, as bullish as everyone is on hype, you have a very nice head short in your hands, okay? I'll do something like this perhaps, right? You know, just a risk you're happy with. Realistically, you're just looking to, you know, if you get above, you're going to close this, right? So 3.5% is something like that's what you're risking. 3.3 to 3.5%, right? In fact, you literally just 3% you could risk on this. Just keep it very tight. And you're looking to run risk to reward of 3 first. You shave some off, scalp the swing mindset, right? Always when you're leverage trading against the trend. So currently the trend is up, locally speaking. You're trying to short it, scalp the swing mindset. When you get the risk reward of 3, take some, maybe shave 40% off, stop us to break even, and then try to ride the rest for massive moves, right? Otherwise, you know, you get stopped out. You didn't give anything back to the market. That's the important thing. And you can always try to catch the short again should the SIP happen again. But if not, then it's what it is, right? You don't short, the trend continues, you go high, you look for the next area to try and, you know, you look for the next basically significant price action which gives you either the long or the short. But if the daily closes like this, in fact, if you look at the current 4 hours, even if the 4 hour was to close, I'd wait for the daily close in my opinion. But what you could do is you could start building a short position on the 4 hours and then finishing the position on the daily if the daily closes under, right? That's something you could do. So in 27 minutes and 37 seconds, if this closes below, what you could do is you could open up, for example, 40 or 50% of your position here, right? And then put your stop loss, like, you know, how you would, and then wait for the daily close. If the daily then does close like this and the confirmation opens below, you can open the remainder of your position there, because then you have a daily close confirmation as well, right? There's multiple ways you can manage your risk, even in terms of entries, right? People are very one-dimensional when it comes to risk management. There's so many ways you can do it. So, you know, you could do that right now as we speak, right? You could do 25% on this 4 hour close, 25% on the next 4 hour close, and then the remaining 50% if the daily closes below, right? The next confirmation candle closes below after this daily closes. There's so many ways you can enter this short. But just do watch this area. Right, this very significant area. All these SIPs are happening. This could be extremely nice short that we could take on hype. Maybe even back to like a retest of this trend line, right? Maybe we catch some sort of short that gives us something like this. You chop around and then you go higher, right? That could be it. But we could very easily catch a short here. What I will do is, if the 4 hour closes below like this, I will open up that, like I said, like maybe half of the 40 or 50% of the short position I would want here, I reckon, right? And then if the daily closes below, then I will open up the remainder of my position, right, at the confirmation below to try and ride this lower. Stop loss will basically just be above this, right? If you want a hard stop, just set it above these wicks here, right? And your manual if you want to close it manually, what you're saying is if you see even on the 5-15 minutes you start to see, you know, closes above and, you know, this is holding a support, you're not losing it, that's your trigger to get out of the short. Either way, like, it's very easy to manage your risks. Okay, but yeah, so this is hype. In fact, here, let me put this into the chart dump area too. There, yeah, that's hype. And then last but not least, okay, that was hype, and then let's look at ENA, right? That is something I do want to look at. So ENA, which one now did I do this on? Is it the first one? One sec. There we go. We're chilling again at your macro standard deviation half, okay, 0.5 standard deviation value area low. You're chilling at your current shark 2.24, right? That's another thing you're chilling at. And the only reason I put this here is, have you gone and violated this low still? No, you haven't. It goes all the way down over here, right? That's fine. Very easy for ENA here, okay? Very, very easy. You're just going to do this level to level, okay? If you close below, for now is, let's say 2645, right? If you go and actually close below these levels, right, then I reckon you have a shot at, again, heading down towards, you know, macro standard deviation 2, 1 plus 1.5 value area low, so on and so forth, right? So if you close below this, then you get a shot at 24 cents, 23 cents. If you don't only close above, then you get a shot at the 2.24, and then, you know, this line over here, which is the BAT 886 from history, right? You have the shark 886 from history, another thing we have over here. Hopefully you realize the reason ENA is so choppy, right? The reason that this has been so choppy is simply because of how many key levels you have back to back in this area. You have lots of key levels, as you can see here. It kind of reminds you of Farcoin, right? Which is why another reason Farcoin was so choppy before we expanded. The only time Farcoin got impulsive is after it broke out from all of these key levels. We need ENA, okay? ENA is not going to go parabolic until we get above the macro point of control. So you have a lot of work to do on this coin, right? Above the macro point of control, which is currently sat at 0.2995, right? That's why I marked it down here. Until you get above that, actually, you know what? I'm wrong, right? The macro point of control is currently at 0.3578, right? Until we get off that, we aren't doing anything on ENA, right? We're not going to go parabolic. You could go and put another lower high and so on and so forth. So again, no one's going to be fully positioned ENA at these levels. Okay, again, I know many people would be like, yeah, but this is the area fully positioned. That's fine, right? If you want to enter like that, that's fine. But again, no, you guys know how I enter. I've got my own entry strategy, 20-40-40, with the ratios depending on the invalidation, right? So if we were to close above, again, the shark 886, 2668, right? If we were to close above this, you can enter a position here. You can enter a starter position, right? What would the ratio be? Well, your stop loss for your starter position is 4% away. So you can go in with 40%, 45, 50%, whatever you're comfortable with, right? But you can, your CMP entry can be on the higher side. You can reduce the position size of then your size up, and also your trend shift allocations, right? But you're not gonna fully position because there is no point being 100% in when the trend is to the downside. Guess what? You're still trying to catch a falling knife if you do entry DCA1, DCA2 stop loss if you're doing it in a downtrend, right? There's no point trying to catch a falling knife like we always say, which is why we're saying if that low does come in and you close above, then 30-40% entries here, then you save the rest for when local resistances start getting flipped to support, right? So when, for example, if we do this, we go and we start flipping this to support, right? We start flip this to support, flip this to support, so on and so forth. You'd be using that size up allocation. We've got 3 allocations, remember. You always have an allocation for the, however, when the last double high, the little lower low gets taken out and the high low comes in, that is when you put your final allocation in. That way, yes, your average, you're not in fully from the lows, but your average is probably not going to get checked back, right? That's a very safe entry. You can put your stop loss to break even straight away, and you only fully positioned yourself at the right side of the market. So you were not trying to catch a falling knife. This is how I prefer to trade on the higher time frame, right? But ENA is definitely one to watch in terms of value, but definitely not one you want to be all in on right now, in my opinion. Okay, again, that's just you guys know, I'm only giving you what I do, what I'm doing, my strategy, right? My strategy would not be to go all in here right now. It'd be just rather try and account for that chop that can come with time, right? But yeah, so there's a lot of work left to be done still on this particular coin over here. And apparently we have a shift in data, because that used to be at, okay, so it's dropped down. I need to change that, one sec. I'll change that soon. But the macro standard deviation value area high has dropped lower. It is now at 4694 basically. Hang on, let me just zoom in. What is the ratio? What is the price? Is it 4694? It is 4696. So I'm going to go to this line. I want to say 4696. There, perfect. Yeah, so we've got a lot of things to do, right? A lot of things, but ENA is one to watch for sure. It's like, you know, look where it is, right? Look where it is. You for now, for example, right? If we do close, right, this daily above, and we can sustain above on the rest of the week, we have a shot at putting in, right, lower lows in price, higher lows in RSI, right? That would be bullish divergence, class A. Now it's not on the weekly. Oh, you could be on the weekly, right? You could be on the weekly. Look, lower low in price, right? Massive lower lows in price here, higher lows in RSI, right? But more importantly, over here, that'd be a lower low in price, right? Let's say the weekly were to close like this, but you were to maintain above, that'd be a lower low in price in terms of the close. But if the RSI stayed above and the next candle opened above the 886, above the macro standard deviation 0.5 value area low, right? That'd be a higher low in terms of RSI. So that would, for me, be class A bullish divergence on the weekly. Signs of strength, right? So all things to consider when looking at a project and deciding how much do I want to put in, do I even want to consider this or not, and like, how do you know which one to pay attention to, basically, right? We've got a lot of coins. Like, you know, I haven't even touched on everything we've gone over, we've gave signals for, but that's because, like I said, I gave the TP warning a few days ago, right? Saying I've closed out a lot of scalp to swings. So you guys should be de-risked from that, right? And we'll just look to recompound, okay? That's the point. And hopefully you guys see why I took profits, because many things have dropped quite nicely since then, right? It's like when you're at resistance and you see sellers taking control, that's my Bitcoin thesis. That's the whole reason I gave that take profit warning, right? And now we're just looking to recompound. That's all it is. But there's so many projects we can look at, right? There are literally so many. PAL, for example, another one. If you get a smiley face around the 886, that'd be a really nice bid, right? There's so many we look at. Cetus, right? If you get any sort of pullback, in fact, before I forget, let me again go ahead and do this, set an alert. If you go and get a higher low now on Cetus around these areas, again, if you missed it originally, that's a bid, right? Last lower high, that left it lower low, taken out, high low coming in, that'd be a bid, right? And, you know, this Cetus already gave us a 2x, right? Literally from our entry, it literally already gave us a 2x, right? More than a 2x, 183% move up. Right, so this is where I originally looked at it, and then I gave you guys a second warning around 0.112 saying, look, if you're not in, what are you doing? And if even from that point, it was still more than a 2x, 119% move up we had over a few days on this. Right, so we made nice money on this move up that we've had, which is why I gave that TP warning. Now, many things were at resistance and stalling, right? But yeah, so, but the main takeaway from today's session, hopefully, guys, is SWI, right? The reason I gave you Cetus, the reason I gave you guys SWI, right, the reason we talked about it for so long as one of the top 10 coins, is because obviously the TA was looking good, right? The chart was looking good, the volumes were looking good, but now this move up has cemented that SWI is where like the attention is, okay? Because look, like I said, AVAX didn't get the same type of move, okay? We still got the move from the lows, and again, our average was this, right? We pretty much low pinged this, right? But it wasn't even 50%. Aptos, again, same thing. We didn't really get a big move up, right? Ondo, give us a move up, but again, was it a massive one, right? From that second PRZ, it wasn't. It was another 50%. SWI's one of the only ones that crossed that 2x mark, right? Well, SWI itself didn't actually go 2x, right? It did if you take it from the lows, from the actual literal low, yeah? We didn't enter at that low itself, though. We're waiting for structure, right? Entry was somewhere around here. 83%, way better, right? CETAs actually gave us a 2x, right? So in terms of the moves, we clearly see where is the money going. It's going to SWI. Simple, it's going to SWI, right? So we got to pay attention to this. We got to pay attention to it, which is why I'm saying, like, if you guys see anything interesting on SWI, any interesting projects, any interesting coins, send them our way. Put it on the, like, in a sharing crypto chat. Put it in, like, if you want me to do a chart request, like, you want to request a TA on a SWI chart, just put it in. We can take a look at them, right? But I think, yeah, might as well focus on this. It's where the money is. Why fight it? It's where the money is. That's where the money went. So there's no point trying to fight that. And I just want to quickly look at Say. I just want to see, because this one now did an anti-AVAX. Say is looking very good. I just wanted to mention it because, okay, this is very reminiscent of what AVAX was doing, right? This is the same line that had an AVAX that had put down saying, you need to take this fucker out. AVAX didn't take it out, but Say did. Okay, the last lower high that led to the lower low was taken out on Say. So if any sort of high low comes in, and again, hopefully you guys can see where I want it to come in, somewhere in this region. If any sort of high low comes in, that's it. That's a bid on Say. Right, that's the bid you're looking for on Say. Say looks fantastic. Okay, so that's the bid you'll be looking for on Say. So anything like either that, or of course you go and reclaim that into support. If you reclaim that into support, that's the bid, right? That's the high low. You say, okay, the high low is in. You try and play that like the high low, because we don't know where the high low is going to be for definite, right? But you just manage your risks at areas, at key levels, and just that's it. You might get stopped out. That's fine. Enter here. If that is lost, that's fine. Wait for either the reclaim or, again, lower prices to get hit. And if this low gets taken out, then we just put another lower high, lower low in. The trend continues. We're still in the downtrend, right? But we have very specific and focused areas where we're actually going to read the price action and take the risks, right? But just understand, Say has a change of character. So if you see a higher low come in, please don't fade it. Take it, right? Take it. Scalp the swing, spot, take it. Because again, that's the first sign. If the high low does come in, that could be the first sign you're going from the left side of the V to the right side. In fact, let me do this. Yeah, here's the low. Here's the current high, right? So maybe we get the 618. Right? You guys know I love doing this. If you do get the 618, there's your low, and where's the high? Here. Currently you're below, right? So either you see this, basically, right? Something like this, some reclaim, and you try to bid that reclaim to then try and catch up here, or we see something like this, right? Over the coming days on May. If you do get that drop and you hold and you put cumulative structure in here, that'd be the bid I look for. So either this or that drop, right? That's it on Say. But yeah, Say does look good. So we're just waiting for a high low to come in on Say. That's it. Okay, I will put this in thingy. I'll put this in the actual old section, because did I put Say in the old section? I should have. One sec. Where's your old Say? Yeah, I did. Okay. I've got a different chart for it. So let's go back here. I suppose then Say must be over here. That's it. Old. Is this the one I put in? This isn't the one either. This is the old chart. Where is the proper chart gone for Say? One sec. Is it here? There we go. That's the new chart, right? So that's some old ass ones in there. There we go. Again, if you can get a smiley face, right? We're looking at the. Let me just make sure I've done this right. Where were we looking at it for the smiley face? We looked at it on the 4-hour basis, around 17 cents, right? So if we go back over here, around 17 cents is going to put us back down towards this range. Yeah. Okay. So you have a daily buy zone there, for example. That's the one I'm going to mark out, right? Here you go. So if you want a smiley face to come in, you want it to be somewhere around here. Right, that's it. You want it to be somewhere around there. That red line is there for what exactly? Oh, top of the previous consolidation range as well. Beautiful. That's what it was there for. But yeah, so if you get any sort of high low, especially in this structure, and you know what, I'm going to be even more because you don't want to be too greedy at these areas now, right? So I'm going to expand it, not just to the daily buy zone, but also to account for this range. anywhere within here, you see a cumulative structure coming in, you take the bid. Either that or the flip of this, shark 86 unit support, you take the bid. Because you just say, yeah, you just treat it like the higher lows in, right? Just look for scalp the swing mindsets first if you're uncomfortable. But yeah, say, just understand right now, say it's attempting to put in a trend shift. The first sign of your change of characters happen, so it's attempting to put in a higher low, wherever the higher low comes in. Right, use your diagonals, use your horizontals, get your intersections up. But when the higher low does come in, we bid say. Right, we don't sit here thinking, oh boy, it could take this low. Yeah, it could. But it could also put the higher low in and then give us a beautiful rally up. Right? So if I'm gonna take the risk on coins, it's gonna be areas like this. Right, so that is say. That's the one I will end this with today. Okay, that's the one I end this with. So if you guys have any other questions, right, you have any coins you want me to look at, so on and so forth, you guys know how to do it. So put it under crypto, put it in the share your chart or chart request, right? If you want to share your charts, put it under share your charts. If you want to, if you want me to look at a particular coin for you, right, just put it on the chart request, and I'll get back to you when I see it. No problem at all, Miranda. My pleasure. And apart from that, it's yeah, it's just pay attention, set some alerts up, and then when you do get the higher lows coming in, right, it might feel like, oh, look at all this red, why would I bid here? Just doesn't matter what your emotions say, just what is the rule book telling you? Okay, that's what you focus on. And yeah, you know, I'll do more streams if I see any good opportunities again. But for me, that was it. I'm gonna get some dinner in me. Thank you guys, right? Thank you very much for your time today. Mad Villain Edico, again, very happy to have you guys on board. And I look forward to like, you know, the rest of this year. I think it's gonna be amazing, right? It's exciting. We've got a lot of opportunities ahead of us. So yeah, okay.
Cheers. Thank you very much, man.
No
Thank
problem at
you.
all, brother. No problem at all.
Have a nice evening, everyone.
Yeah, you too, brother. You too, guys. Right, I'm gonna. My friends call me in my nickname. They call me Young Metro too. Literally just from that tagline. All right, let me stop the.